Welcome to another episode of I Am Tired of Church. How do we love our enemies? How is that even possible? Christ told us that we need to love our enemies, love our neighbors as ourselves. So loving your enemy, that's impossible. Loving your neighbor, that's impossible. Loving yourself, to some people that is impossible because they're not content with who they are. This is what I believe in the way you love your enemy. First, this is not loving your enemy. So let's take and find out first what your enemy is. We always want to look at our enemy as the enemy of the country, of the United States. So terrorism. That's not your enemy. You didn't say love the enemy of your nation. Who is your enemy? And I'm not talking about Satan, but who is your enemy? Do you have any enemies? Could it be a person at work? But an enemy is a person who's hostile toward you. Alright? Not a foreign enemy like, oh, the people in the Middle East. And then loving them is not saying we should just nuke the whole place, drop a nuclear bomb and start from the beginning. That's total hate. And there are a lot of preachers who say stupid things like that. And there is no love in that at all. Okay, so how do you love your neighbor? And what is your neighbor? Is it Christ talking about your next door neighbor? Or is he talking about just people in general? People you work with, people you interact with, people you go to church with. So how do you love, this is my view on what I think, okay? So it's not gospel, it's not like, oh yeah, right, that's not the right way. My pastor says it this way. This is my perception on how do you love other people that you don't even know. Well, first, you don't hold judgment toward them. Okay, so if I have someone who's hostile toward me, I don't go and I hate them and say I hate that person. Because loving them doesn't mean I have to go and shower them with gifts. We have this thing in this country of the United States of everything is about me, me, me. If you love me, you better give me, give me, give me. No. However, if I have a person who's hostile toward me, the way I love them is to not hold judgment against them. Why? Because who does that harm? That harms me. If a person is hostile toward me, and in my heart, I just don't like that person, whose heart is that hurting? Me. Is affecting my life, my spiritual life. Hell, some people might lose sleep over that too. So when you're loving your enemy, you're in fact loving and taking care of yourself. That's how you love your enemy, by just saying, you know what, that's not going to bother me. So someone's driving down the road, someone flips you off, cuts you off. Right away you get upset, you put your middle finger out, now you're upset. That person didn't realize they cut you off. For some reason you made them your enemy, and now you're upset. And that person's just driving, relaxing, they don't care, they don't know what they did to you. But you allow that to be and become part of your life. You allow them to enter and control you. It's supposed to be self-control, brother. Jesus Christ, yes, he loved his enemies. He didn't hold judgment against them. What did he say? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Right? He didn't get down from the cross and start giving gifts out. No, he held no judgment against them. Father, forgive them. And at that moment, they were all his enemies. How do you love them? How do you love a person who's on the street homeless? Giving them 50 cents? Giving them $1? I've even met Christians who don't give them and say, I don't give them no money because all they're going to do is drink with it. Who cares what they do with it? If God's asking me and telling me to give, I'm going to give. Okay? God didn't say, well, Jesus, I would give them grace, but all they're going to do is take advantage of it, so let's not give them grace. You know, so give because you want to give. But how do you love a person who's dead on the street, pissed, drunk on themselves? You don't know them, they've never done nothing to you. But how do you love that person? You have to feel what they feel. You have to somehow look at that person and say, wow. Right now their eyes are shut, they're pissed drunk, someone loves them. Something happened in their life and you don't know what happened. But put that pain in your heart and feel for them that love that God has for them. And then you'll say, wow, that person is loved. Then you might buy them a meal. You may feel their pain and you experience that with them. Then you'll know, wow. Then you'll learn to love them. Because if you just say, oh, I love them, here's $1, and you keep, my life, I'm going to go on Facebook. No. No, this is real. These are people in your life. And you never know why God put a person in front of you. Maybe to demonstrate, hey, love this person. Because spiritually, when you were pissed drunk spiritually, Christ, what? Died for us. Spiritually, when you were lost living your life, Christ died for you. So don't forget where you came from, and don't ever look at a homeless person, a drunk person, a drug addict, someone with tattoos and piercings everywhere and anywhere. Don't look down on them, because you never know what they're going through. So you never know how it is that God is going to use you. So that's my way on how you love people, man. How you love a person you've never met. It's experience that pain with them when they're upset and in life they're depressed. You gotta feel that pain with them and know, wow, they're going through something deep. Lord, give me that empathy. Help me experience that with them. Meet them where they're at, because that's the way God is with His grace. He meets you where you're at. Meet that person where they're at. Talk to them about how God's grace meets them exactly where they're at. Don't go saying, you want to come to church? Maybe they don't. You're the church. Bring you to them. Want to go to church? Oh, we got some good Bible classes. Hello, you teach them. You show them. God's grace for them is the same grace for you. Don't ever forget that. Don't think for a moment that His grace is somehow more for you because you know Him and less for them because they don't know Him. When in reality, they might know Him more than you by their actions. But just because they're pissed drunk, and I keep harping on that type of person because many people look down on them. But my father is an alcoholic. When I say pissed drunk, there was times I had to go pick him up because he was pissed drunk and I had to drag him in the car and bring him home. I hated doing it, but I did it because he was my dad. And he'd do the same for me. Why? Because that's love. And that was for my dad. But if I'm walking down the street and a homeless person's, take me home, please. You know, they're on the street, take me somewhere. I'm taking them. Why? Because God's love for them is demonstrated through me. You know, you can say to that person, brother, God loves you. That person doesn't care. What they want to know is, because they can't see God. So I don't care if God loves me. Do you love me? You're telling me that with your lips, but how about you? You have not done nothing with your hands to help me. You can tell me God loves me all day long. His love doesn't help me laying here in the street. You, with your actions, love me and help me, lift me up. That is God's love. And this is how we love our enemies and love those neighbors around us and love people. And it could be anybody. You don't think people got their life all fine and straight just because they're dressed up in a suit covering all their pains on Sunday morning. There are many people at church who don't want to be there. It's a burden to be there. They're there because of, I don't know, maybe being forced to go. Maybe as a family we feel like we have to go. So we'll just go to church. And they have pains in them too. So don't just look at a person on the street and say, well, over here at the church everyone's fine. No. There are people right now at your church probably contemplating suicide. And you might be that last person they see. And on their way out, all you do is say, God bless you, brother. Because you got your things to go do. You got a football game to go watch. You got a little dinner to go do with your little friends. Take time to love people. And that's my opinion, you want to say, on how you love your enemy, your neighbors, how you love people in general. Don't hold judgment against them. Meet them where they're at. Feel their pain. Get down to that level. Because that's what Christ did for us. And we need to try to live that example. But it has to be out of love. And if you can't do that, then you can't say you love God. Because you cannot love God if you don't love people. Don't ever forget that what Jesus Christ did was enough for you, for me, and for those around us.